All right. Hello, fellow traders and Volin members and paid subs and non-subs. I wanted to take the opportunity today to review our trade. Uh, what I traded today as well, how I traded it, why I took it. I'll also kind of do just a quick review of how I use our trade plans that we publish both from a weekly perspective, like what is our weekly outlook and what the market may or may not do, and then obviously from an intraday basis, what could it do within a specific time frame. So I want to just jump over here, and for those who are unfamiliar within the Volin edge extractors, we do have essentially a couple of options here. So you will see myself and Captain Wick. We will provide both weekly plans, at least on SPX and QQQ always, along with intraday plans here as well. And then from time to time, if I do see a trade in an individual ticker, like the past few weeks I've been writing NVIDIA both up and down, I will then, do an analysis and a trade plan on individual tickers. So for today's video, I'm going to just stick to the SPX here. So let's jump into that. So first and foremost, let's go back and, if you're not reading these trade plans, I mean, first of all, you need to be doing that. Is it a lot? Of course, I can understand it's a lot, but this is trading and you won't make money or lots of money or home run or grand slam like money without doing some of the work. Anyone who tells you differently is lying to you. So there is work involved. You have to chart, you have to prep, you have to do your analysis, and this is why I do my trade plans, although they take me many hours in a given day. It is what has made me become a very successful trader. I used to lose a lot of money, not so much anymore. So let's jump into that. So in yesterday's weekly overview, I gave you, if you remember, I have two overviews I will always provide, which is both the SPX chart and then also ES. There are certain bits of information that one or the other might share over the other, like ES sometimes will have better volume profile data than the SPX, and also because it's traded essentially almost 24/7, 24/5, 6, excuse me. So with that, what we said, for this week's key level and zone was essentially kind of where we faced, resistance today. Anytime we popped into this zone, we faced sellers, and specifically that 53.60, 53.65 level. So we knew if we're going to trade within this zone, we needed to be careful. We shouldn't trade with lots of size. We might want to trade with more time than a 0 DTE or even a 1 DTE outlook, right? So anything within the zone, as stated, is purely chop. And I will use Volin and Volin's Vanna data, especially when I'm in this zone, to help clarify, hey, is 53.60 the top, 53.65, or are we going to go all the way to 53.75, and then are we then going to sell, right? So I'll always complement these zones that I identify with Volin data, especially on an intraday basis. I'll use Charm and some of the 0 DT Charm outlook to help guide me if we do go into the zone. Now, also that Charm outlook will give me in some of the Vanna levels whether we're gonna, if we do reject 53.50, are we gonna all the way sell down to 52.85? Of course not. That's not how trading works. So what happens if we reject 53.50, 53.50? Well, we had that in the overnight session, right? And that's where I said, hey, in reality, like, yeah, 53.40, it gets lost. I'm not, hurtful. I don't think that's hurtful to the SPX. I would even expect it if we had some profit takers. Where I was really, really curious what would happen was here at 53.30, 53.25, as I stated, this is the first area the bears will need to take out. And to me, again, I wasn't so worried whether or not they could take out this area. it was whether or not they could take this. Again, with all my analysis and all of my details, uh, this was essentially kind of my like key level, coming intraday, especially once I saw the zero DT charm flash a similar list that made me giddy and excited, right? So that was a potential entry there that you could have longed, and we'll review it here as well. So again, I'm just trying to share with you how the weekly plan can then translate into like a daily plan, right? So on the daily plan, we had our key fallen levels, right, from both Havana, from if you notice here, 53.25 was a positive Vanna zone. We didn't have negative Vanna, but it was positive, meaning if we were going to have further sell off in that 53.30, 53.25 kind of area, as I stated, like we needed to flip 53.25 and then hold below it to continue to sell off. It also meant that the IV and the VIX needed to increase, right? So think of this as like a math equation, right? Or even like an engineering statement, an if statement, right? Like if this happens and if that happens, then this will occur, right? So that's how you have to look at this, right? 1 + 1 = 2, right? So you keep adding these together. So as we look down here, we also set gamma levels, right? Like if there would be an area below 53.50, what is the first area of interest? And for the dealers, it was as well around that 53.25, if I remember right. Not on a, this is a, expiration is all expiries here. That was on a zero DTE basis, if I remember right. Okay? And obviously the VIX levels, right? If one thing, if we go and jump into the VIX chart for just a minute here, right? And let's go to a 30 minute. Let me just trim this down a little bit. I mean, look at this thing. We had a gap up when it opened, and this is a pretty wild gap up, right? We're looking at a close of what was this, 1224, and we opened up all the way up to 1309. Obviously, that's Mondays for you in the VIX world. Now, look at what happened throughout the day. We just basically barcoded in futures action. It was right before the market opened, where just bam, we had the suppression and the IV, right? And volatility, excuse me. So again, knowing as we set that in the trade plan that if we're going to see any further sell-off, we had to be above 1250 on the VIX. So if you notice, yes, were we above 1250 on the VIX? Yep, maybe I underestimated how much we'd gap up today, but knowing what I would have thought 1250 might hold here, if anything, we're just going to keep selling based on how this 130-minute candle started the day off. So there's that, right? So again, you keep adding this, and then obviously as the market opened, Volland and the zero DT charm data had also shared a very similar entry or low of the day to be made at 53.30 here on SPX. So this is how you piece this data together. It's hard, obviously, to do this all in real time. It takes practice. You have to do it a few times, indeed. But once you've kind of mastered that and so forth, it's just tremendous, right? So again, super excited here to be sharing this with you. I personally myself, if you go back to my plan here, I didn't trade this morning, right? I was actually busy at the market open today. So for me, I actually waited to see what the market would do here at the 53.50. And as we got updated data in Volin and with my trade plan, we had even said if there's a failed breakdown of 53.40, you're going to go up and target 53.65, right? So it's always great when I have one of my bullish bias, especially with Vanna levels, if they're showing the same story as the night prior. But then also to have zero DTE charm show a similar story, that was helpful. So I entered around that 53.40 level. So just a little bit shy of here. Again, I'm not going to always predict the bottoms, and nor will I predict always the tops, right? So I carried this trade as a 0 DT, or as a 1 DT, I should say, up until about 53.60. They go somewhere in one of these. I think it was this candle, if I remember, because we hit it and then we sold down. I took profit. It hit 60. I was like, hey, I'm good, happy. Came down. I'm out. I took my short dated options and I took those profits, locked and loaded. Now, what I kept though was, how we had support here, how we held it. We held it the prior session as well. We've all, held it a little bit here into Thursday as well, and it was also kind of an area of consolidation a little bit. So, boom, you see these wicks out of these zones. So at the time I entered my 1 DTs, I also added into my swing position. So on the swing plan, I had stated, we go back down here and read it, above 53.50, start to target these levels. So that's what I'm locked and loaded. 53.50 is my stop loss, as I've stated here, right? I am thinking that we target further upside into tomorrow, and then Wednesday is decision time, whether we go more up or more down. I think that comes Wednesday. I think selling, at least, if it does come, it will come Wednesday. So I am still engaged into my swing weekly plan here. Again, we get below 53.50, I cut it. No questions asked. Even if I get faked out, it is what it is. I've managed my risk. I know what I'm willing to lose on it, and whether I will stay in that trade if we hit a certain level. So all in all, I wanted to just share this video, give you a little bit of recap. Hopefully this was a little bit more helpful and insightful for all of you. Thank you, and have a great evening.